How do you know if your student in a dual language immersion program is really learning the language? How can you know where they're supposed to be for their grade level? And how can you support them? With language proficiency, it's not really about what a student knows about the language or the words they can recite. It's about what a student can do with the language in real-world situations with spontaneous, non-rehearsed contexts. This is why proficiency scales are used in dual language immersion classes. They help inform parents about what students can actually do with the language. We can think of learning a language like learning a sport or an instrument. To be successful, we need to understand the rules, basic vocabulary, symbols, and concepts. Then, we begin practicing skills, and we need to keep practicing over time, going over different situations or pieces. Eventually, when we play in a real, unrehearsed situation, we can use the skills we've developed to succeed, and the evidence of our proficiency is clear for everyone. It's the same idea for learning a language. We want to become effective communicators and be prepared for real-world language use. So, with this in mind, let's look at the path of language proficiency. The American Council on the Teaching of Foreign Languages has developed guidelines that describe the major levels of proficiency: distinguished, superior, advanced, intermediate, and novice. Each of the levels is then subdivided into high, mid, and low. Altogether, this scale shows the continuum of language proficiency from very little or no function to extremely well-versed and articulate. We can better understand these levels with the help of some simple analogies. Novices are like parrots. They can repeat back memorized words and phrases and speak in practiced, familiar situations. Intermediates are like survivors. They have the basic needs to survive in a foreign country involving simple solutions. They can create simple sentences and ask and answer questions, but lack the ability to communicate on a range of topics and are prone to frequent misunderstandings or gaps in communication. Advanced students are compared to storytellers and reporters.
Once upon a time,
They can describe and narrate in past, present, and future timeframes, and speak about many subjects in different situations. Superiors are like scholars. They can discuss abstract topics, hypothesize, support an opinion, and handle linguistically unfamiliar situations. We can then break down the sublevels. Those in the low sublevel are able to perform the level's tasks all the time, but with minimal quantity and quality. In other terms, they're barely hanging on. Students at the mid-level are able to perform the level's tasks all the time with solid, sustainable control and good quality. They are solid and strong. Those at the high end can perform the current level's tasks and perform the next level's tasks half of the time, but are unable to sustain it. The ACTFL describes those in this sublevel as fallen angels because they are close to being at the next level but fall back to doing the current level. Let's use another analogy to help bring it all together. Think of how a baby learns to walk. Typically, before being able to walk upright, the baby becomes very skilled at crawling. This child is a solid crawler, or at the mid-level of crawling. After time, the baby will begin to stand up and attempt to walk. However, they fall down a lot and continue crawling to get from one point to another because that's what they can do solidly. They are now at the high sublevel of crawling. They are attempting to walk, which is the next level, but are often unsuccessful and revert to crawling. After some practice, the child is able to take steps and walk all of the time, but only barely. They are very wobbly and may fall down, but they get back up and continue walking. The child is now at walker low level. Once they can walk solidly, they are considered walker mid. They don't need to crawl anymore and are very capable of walking. When the child wants to run but is unable to do so, we would likely categorize their proficiency as walker high. Typically, the child tries to run but ends up stumbling and has to slow down. Remember the fallen angel analogy? The child tries the next level, but is not quite ready to do it consistently and reverts back to what he or she can do. When the child can at last run consistently, we would say they are runner mid. In this same sense, children learn a new language and progress through stages with what they can do with the language. Using what we know about language proficiency, parents can get a clear idea of where students are expected to be at the end of each grade level. For example, the target for a first grader in French dual language immersion is to speak at novice mid-level by the end of the year. For a sixth grader learning French, their target is to speak at intermediate mid-level. There are different targets for each grade level, depending on the language. These targets are based on research of the standard learning times for each language. By understanding the path to language proficiency, parents can provide necessary support along the way, and students can work toward mastering a new language. For more information and guidance, visit the Utah State World Languages website or the ACTFL's Proficiency Guidelines. You may also always reach out to Granite School District's dual language immersion specialists.